Hello and good morning to you. This is Larry Porrricelli with Southern California Writers Association, and we are here with a wonderful Hump Day interview with perhaps the youngest author that we have ever interviewed, Xavier Deberry. And say hello, Xavier, how are you today?
How you doing? I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming on today. It's just a wonder to have you here because what Xavier, you may be wondering, why would we have a young author like Xavier? Xavier, how old are you?
18 years old.
He's 18 years old. And what is Xavier going to tell us, writers, jaded writers out here who've written mysteries, murders, romance, cozies, all kinds of books? What is he going to help us with? I picked up Xavier's as a speaker because asked him as a speaker that he wrote something that I'll show you the title of it. It's right here. And it's a wonderful book. And it's called A Living Vessel Renewing Your Mind. And it is something that was opened in California, in North Carolina. He debuted it in California, and it came out of North Carolina, and he wrote it this past year while in high school, and he did it as an inspiration book for other teenagers who are going through life with so many hardships and troubles and falling down in the world that we're living in. And for authors, I thought you may want to hear some of the things and motivations that move teenagers today so that when you're writing your book, they are authentic and not something cliche, but hear that. And his book has caught on all over Carolinas. In fact, school systems are they're inviting him to come speak, public, private, to come speak about how to help young people, because so many young people have so many problems. And it's just been a wonderful talk. When I'll get into this book, there was a wonderful facts and things like that. But what made you want to write this book, Xavier?
So the main things reasons of why I wanted to write the book was because of firsthand experiences and just of what I've been able to see and growing up in life and just different aspects of what people I've grown up with have went through. Most recently during that time in the process of writing the book, one of my friends unfortunately was a victim of gun violence and almost lost his life. Two of his friends unfortunately lost their lives. One of my friends also unfortunately was incarcerated during that time as well. And we're talking about kids I grew up with. Sports, aspirations, dreams of being doctors, lawyers, just anything. The child, you just see how different challenges and the negativity in the world and the society we live today can easily latch on and grab hold of good, young, just nice overall people and kids that want to do something in the world. And I feel like today a lot of people don't look at the world in that light and just assume the worst about people and assume they might know a child's story and not knowing that a lot of the times these kids don't want to do what they're doing or might be making decisions or bad choices based on who they're around and not having that support system and that person to tell them or show them how to do the right thing and show them the way that you want to move around in society and the way you want to move around people and your family and your friends. And I think that's very important to have. So
that's right. And you said a lot of young people make bad choices because they don't have a support system and they don't know how to give a helping hand or what a helping hand is. Could you, and you talk about that in your book. Can you speak about that a little more?
Definitely. Just from what I've seen alone, a lot of times it's easier to have someone when you have someone in your ear telling you, hey, you probably want to do something like this, or you might want to make this decision because of trying to get the best outcome of whatever you want, whether it might be a dream or goal, aspiration, or even if it's something when it comes to making a better decision so you're not getting in trouble with anything, even if you're at school or just outside in a regular day, environment. But the main thing is a lot of people and a lot of children, unfortunately, don't have that person to tell them those things that you most people might think is second nature, or they might be used to it, but it's all because of the environment and upbringing. And what I've seen today, a lot of times, unfortunately, children don't have those good people around them to tell them, hey, you need to make sure you're being an example for not only yourself, but your siblings around you, or people that might be younger than you or even older than you. And I feel like when you don't have that good support system and that person that inspires you to be better for yourself and the other people around you, it's hard to. And that was the main goal with the journal, is to bring something interactive as well.
Yeah, and you said missing opportunities because they don't know, and you go over that in here very well on how young people make the wrong choices, and you give them some exercises to look at, to think at, and building confidence, and to have, because without confidence, tell them without confidence, everything what you said falls apart, right?
Yes, definitely. Confidence, super important and very significant on just the success of a person in general. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids are growing up without confidence in themselves, without confidence, and just hope for better days and to really actually be able to accomplish their dreams and goals because of just where they come from, or what they see on a regular day-to-day basis, and just their overall environment. And without having confidence, it just puts you're already at a disadvantage when you don't have confidence within yourself, and especially to be able to trust and believe, because you already are missing out on foundation that can help you be the person that you want to be. And then when you also add that in with a kid that might come from an environment that's not necessarily a good background or a good supporting system in that avenue as well, then it's even a harder opportunity to go out and do what you want to do in the world.
And you said a lack of confidence leads to a lot of negative thoughts, but also to fear. And you said fear through leads to crime, leads to pressure. And, it's such young people today, man, as you point, many have across the country have looked at suicide. They could not face things. And you've written something that people have thought, they grabbed onto it because it worked for one, and then it worked for two, and then it worked for 100, and it's working all over. It's how does it feel to be a young man to write a book that actually helps turn people's lives around?
It's really a big blessing, honestly. Like I said, when I was writing the book, there was a lot of things going on around me and in my life. It was pretty hard. And then I had also lost my father around that same time. And so I was facing challenges within myself and my own personal life, and being able to know that at the end of the day, I still am able to push through. And I just wanted to give that to somebody else and give that to other people around me, and just kind of, I guess, in a way, create a helping hand for other people. And to know that that's what I've been able to do and been able to create is really inspiring for me to keep pushing and just really keep trying to impact as much people as I possibly can.
And the book has a very spiritual base to it. And whether you have a spiritual belief or not, it still touches your heart, because what he shares is to have people look at ourselves and question not our faith, but to question our actions and what we're doing and why. And that with young people is, and each day, it's a 60-day way for young people to look at it and make it going. When you were writing this, what was your biggest fear?
Definitely, the biggest fear definitely was just making sure the book did what it was supposed to do. Luckily, I feel like it's definitely doing what it's supposed to do, which is, again, a blessing. During that process, I really was just looking at the bigger picture of things and just remaining faithful, and just trying my best to not only look and hope for the best with the book, to be able to inspire and encourage others, but to also make sure I was applying the principles in the book as well to my life and not being afraid of if the book will do what it's supposed to do, and not knowing is it going to touch anybody or reach out and affect anybody in a positive way or not. And so just believing and trying to stay confident and believe and focus and just follow my passion.
Yeah. One of the things I learned in this book was that human beings have approximately 6,200 thoughts per day. Is that right? 6,200. Now, I dare somebody to keep track of those. You know, it's hard. You can't, you know, so many things are floating and shooting through us and by us. And, but he brings that point out to young people. And why did you bring that point out to them?
Okay, so my grandfather actually found that, and I thought it was very interesting because the overall, just the idea of, so your thoughts already is based on the idea of what's traveling through your mind without you physically or directly thinking about something going on. And so what I found in the research, most of the thoughts that you have usually are, and for most people are usually not good thoughts, are usually negative thoughts actually. And those negative thoughts that are always constantly going through your mind, and it, most people do not realize it doesn't have to be super big. It can be something small as like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this today, or I don't think I'm going to be able to have time for this, or I wish I could do this, but I can't do this. And little thoughts like those constantly playing in your head of this negative impacts and what you can't do, or what you're not able to do, having stuff like that in your head constantly every day, all day, overall it just overall brings down a person. And so I said that because I thought it was very important to get the idea out there that not only understanding how important that is to know that your thoughts is that important and you have that many, but also when now that you know that, let's use these steps within the book to fix those and try to make more positive thoughts and look at things in a more positive aspect of life, and just to overall just progress and push through whatever you're facing.
Now, you're going to school. Have any students, friends, people in the school read your book?
Yep. I've had people in the halls walk up to me, not only asking about it, where can they find it, can they get a copy? Their friend told them about reading it, they want to read it. Even teachers, I've had teachers buy the book, read the book, give the book to their children. And I mean, it's really been amazing just seeing the impact it's been able to have, and just the overall support, especially a lot of days. I mean, not everybody is supportive and not everybody's willing to help another person out. And so seeing that this book has been going in a great direction, I'm very happy.
So imagine a teacher asking you for a book.
Right.
I mean, that is so funny.
Yeah.
Not funny, but it's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, that they're asking you, and I hope you charged them double, right? But, and you're walking around, they ask you to autograph them.
Yeah.
But you were out in California where I met you, and there's people from all over the world that are reading your book and bringing it back to their country to work with young people. What's the farthest country away, you think?
So I met this great kid. I can't remember exactly the name of his country, but I know it was a little closer to the Philippines. I also got to meet this very nice young lady and her mother. They were from, I can't remember the exact country, but it was more Western Africa. And so knowing that I've been able to branch off and just meet different people from all around the world and allow them to get to read my book is super cool. And I also, while I was out there in California, Anaheim, I got to meet another young man. He was actually in college at Kentucky University, but his family's from Nigeria. So he was telling his friends about the book because he thought I was older than I was. And so we got to talk and just have a great conversation. And so just being able to do different things like that, and just experiences and meeting new people and just being able to inspire.
I know as writers, we're so happy, even our friends buy our books, and our family and our neighbors or anything, you know, we force them on, come on, you got to buy a book. And we're putting it every day up on Facebook, buy my book, buy my book. And here you are, you know, reaching people to the Philippines, because that must make you feel, you know, proud that you followed your motivation all the way through to help other kids, you know?
Definitely.
And yet, I have to say, this young man is not a kid with pride. He's pride in what he does, but he's not a kid who goes around with a big head or anything like that. And we'll keep that in mind that that doesn't happen, you know, and we believe that it won't. And, but some people, the other thing I read in here was we have in our bodies 40 trillion cells. And I asked him, what do you do when people say, oh, I don't want to read that. I don't believe in God. Tell the answer that you said to that.
So I have a base rule of just, I call it just the rule of oxygen, I guess you could say. I just believe, why is it so hard to believe in God if you believe in oxygen and the small particle O2 that flows around that you can't physically see nor feel, but you know and you feel and you, in your mind, in your heart, you feel that it's there and you believe that that's what you're breathing just because scientists told you that. And based on my own life experiences and just being able to see miracles manifest and pray. And when you add those together and just seeing the things that God has done for my life and just for friends and family, and times I've prayed and people have been able to get out of situations, including myself, I just say a lot of times the people that don't usually believe in God, I usually try to just let them know, like try to have a more open mindset and try to not only open your mind, but open your heart when you're doing it. I feel like a lot of times people open their mind to the concept of God existing, but because their heart is not in the right place or their heart is not really there, they don't really get what they're looking for and then assume, oh yeah, I didn't get anything out of it, so he doesn't exist. But I feel like when your heart's in the right place and actually truly try to make a true connection and relationship with God, you'll know it's there.
And that's so mature. And yet about, for writers, I mean, to hear, you know, a young person say that, express how their faith helps motivate them. And as writers, we're looking for young people. And if you want to write something for Hallmark, or if you want to write so many different ways of young characters, they have to have faith with it, you know, and you get an aspect of it that is helping people out of dangerous situations. And, you know, you also used kids are facing so much more today everywhere. And every generation says that. But I think I agree with you. The world is so small today because of everything. And we as writers have a responsibility to, in all of our work, have some moral cause somewhere, in addition to all the adventure and fun that we write about, but as novelists and writers, but also something moral, some cause for good to help people. And there was one scripture that you used out of Exodus 7. Tell them about that helped accomplish success.
Yeah, so it's really one of my favorite chapters in general, but the entire chapter, Exodus 7, it's primarily the overall story of when God is telling Moses to pretty much not live in fear, not be afraid, because he's ultimately gave him divine power over anything that's bringing him harm or challenge, or anything that's keeping him from doing what he wants to do. And so at that time, that was Pharaoh, and in Egypt when he was trying to bring his people out. And so for God to, and also, so for background purposes, during that time, of course, Egypt is like probably the most powerful civilization on the planet at that time, and Pharaoh is looked at as a god. So I feel like that's very powerful and very, very important when you really look at the significance of what God is telling Moses. Moses being a guy that left the kingdom, he's just out on his own now, basically a homeless guy, and God is still telling you, you're still a god over Pharaoh. You have that power. You're actually the king because you're my child and you have that connection with me. And like you said, with the writers and how they have to have faith when they write and create, I feel like having that faith and that confidence with God is all about what the book is meant to do, and bridging that together and bringing that together for a person to take that next step into ultimately being the best version of themselves is really what
That's it. And you know, with writers, every character in a book has to have an arc. And for an arc, you know, to stand up against Pharaoh and defeat him. You know, we always look at the old classical 10 Commandments, you know, where the waters parted and,
Yeah.
and everybody went, we're all out. I would like to be there, to see that. For sure, that would be something. And I guess they did a pretty good job of it on the screen. But it's so metaphorical for our life to be able to say we can face the pharaohs in our life.
Yeah, definitely.
And come down and beat them. And it's nice to know you have something behind it. And you're closing in at the end of your senior year, and I happen to know he is got scholarship offers from many schools, from the East Coast to the West Coast to the North Coast, all around. So he's making up his mind where, even the Ivies and the almost up to the Big Ten and the Big Pac West and all of that, and Pac-10, and we don't know where, so he will end up there, and hopefully we'll see him writing, inspiring. He'll be inspiring because he's won many awards, and one of them, of course, being a huge one, was the Chick-fil-A Leadership Award, where they pick certain people young people across the country that they think will be future leaders, and you are one of those. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And what would you like to close with for young people? We were talking about cliches, and when you read a book all the time, the kid is always so like just too mixed up, too crazy, and there's never hope for him. So they always have to have the old person or some mentor around, to help them, who substitutes for something to find the way, right? What's the greatest, before we close, what is the greatest thing young people are facing fear of that is within them today?
I think mainly it comes from overall purpose of yourself, and knowing yourself, and knowing that you really can do what you want to do, and not being afraid to tell people what you want to do. I feel like a lot of the overall problems, and even when it comes to things like, street violence and just overall violence in general, a lot of it is coming out of insecurities, really, and making decisions based on, let me go do what the crowd is doing. Oh, they're upset, so I guess I have to be upset and go follow them, or they're not going to school or going to class, so all right, I'll go to class, or I won't go to class either. And a lot of it, what you're seeing is really just all coming from, well, what do you want to do though? Who are you as a person? What is your morals? What is your principles? And what do you believe? And what do you want to do? So I feel like the main thing for the youth to get out of that fear of not knowing, am I going to be successful? Am I going to make everybody around me proud? Am I going to end up just not doing anything in life? I think the key to knowing that is following the steps in the book and trying your best to give yourself affirmation of this positive affirmation, and not only looking for a positive role model or look for your faith and search for your connection with God, but also telling yourself daily and constantly that you are powerful, you are strong, you are amazing. And I feel like the more you do that, and the more you go back with those thoughts and trying to make sure you're being intent on being as positive as you can for yourself, to be the best version of yourself, I feel like that's how you get away from that. But I'll definitely say I feel like the fear overall is just the pressures and insecurities of, am I going to be able to be successful, or am I going to be able to just be me?
Yeah. Well, you've heard the ins and outs, and you've certainly heard the heart of a young person today for character, and you certainly heard the fears, the hurts, and some possible ways to get out of them. But certainly the things that he has seen young people facing today, and how they act, and every action and fear leads to a worse action because they don't have sometimes mentorship or people around them. So if you do know a young person, I do say, you may want to, my grandmother had a great expression, it couldn't hoit. And here is his book, and it's A Living Vessel, Renewing Your Mind, Xavier Deberry. And this is available where? Online?
Livingvessel.com.
At livingvessel.com. And you can also click on it. I think I bought it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you can buy it also on Amazon. And so it's there, but certainly go to his own, livingvessel.com. and you'll have it. We thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And can't wait to see you out on the West Coast again, even if you're on the ball court, putting some points up for one of our local teams. We thank you very much for being here with us. We're honored that you came. On behalf of SCWA, thank you for being out there and watching today. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.